why would people do that? Oh, how disgusting! Honestly, I've just come on live now, and my camera crew think it's funny that they've been telling me about stuff that I'll never get out of my head ever, and I'm trying to wonder why they'd say that, like a lemon party and a meat spit, and you know, it's put me right off cream pies. And why didn't I know this stuff? Why would anyone do this stuff? Anyway, I'm glad I'm in the business world and not anything else. So what don't I know now? Oh, okay. But I don't know if we're making fun of it as well. Anyway, tonight we'll be looking at maybe looking at focusing on big wins and not so much on being, you know, petty, and let's look at business as a lifestyle, social media, communication and communication, and how we value your products and services beyond you know what money you can get for them. Just having a look at the big news. I'm actually the business news. Sorry, not the big news. I'm still flustered with knowing what dogging is, and I'm just. But this week, sorry, please forgive me for all those people that enjoy that type of thing. I'm just not one of them. This week, we had an interview with David from AdLab. He was on our Between the Spreadsheets show. By the way, I'm Stephen Englander, and this is my Thursday Night Live show. And he was talking about e-commerce and how you can expand your business through business online. But in business news this week, we've had a bit of bad press for internet service providers in general, and this is very important because if we're moving into this brave new world of doing business on the internet, then we have to make sure that our service providers are giving us that internet service, and I'm afraid some of them are apparently not doing that. Now, one of the worst ones is Virgin. Now, as you know, I'm not a big fan of big companies. Sometimes they're a necessity because they have facilities that we don't, and they're not all terrible. But Virgin's broadband has had a particularly bad lot of reviews, and I'm glad to say that we're leaving broadband. Oh, sorry, we're leaving Virgin. We've been dealing with Virgin for a few years. It's never been a pleasant experience. I think they've overpriced and very difficult to deal with on the customer service. In fact, one of my colleagues was trying to deal with a problem because we have what you call a leased line, and they guarantee us that we're always going to be up and running, because obviously if the line goes down, our telephones go off, our computers go off, we can't access anything because we're totally in the cloud. We don't have physical servers anymore. It means we can expand quickly and people don't even realise, and we still give the same service. But obviously if broadband goes down, then we're in a bit of a pickle, and broadband went down for 2 hours, and my staff support team was screaming at them, but the customer service was lousy. So I'm glad to say we found another company, and they are a third cheaper, but we're getting 3.5 times the actual band rate that we had before. So it is worth shopping around on these things, but it's very, very important because we're going into this big world of technology, and it's important that we've got the infrastructure there. Just by the way, just coming off the news a little bit, business rates, there's still lots of relief out there, so make sure that you're not paying more than you should be. What you can do is you can go online and you can go to the rates of your local council's websites and see what your property is valued at, and make sure that your rates, you're not paying any more. Plus, if you're not trading, then there's lots that you're not trading at through a premises and they're closed, then there's lots of rates relief out there. So it has been in the news a little bit that some offices especially have been paying rates when they didn't need to. So do make sure that you don't pay unless you want to pay, and certainly don't pay more than you want to pay. You've got there's another thing in the news this week that's it's confused me quite a lot. It doesn't take that much, but if you look at Google and Facebook, they're sort of like media sites, aren't they? But there's been some big fight with the Australian government to say that some of the things they publish on their sites, they should be paid for. So if Rupert Murdoch's companies are putting his news on Google, then Google should pay for the rights of that for that publishing. And you know, I don't quite understand it, because maybe it should be the other way around as well. That Rupert Murdoch should pay Facebook or Google. Now, I'm not a big fan of Facebook. I think, you know, like all big companies, something not quite right with these people. But you don't need me to tell you that, because I think the world tells everybody this. But you know, they do have a function. And is it that Facebook should pay Rupert Murdoch, or Google should pay Rupert Murdoch, or is it the other way around? But the embarrassing thing is that it's Australia that's they're backing down to. I mean, it's not like it's England or America or a proper country. It's Australia. So you know, but there's probably more going on. There's probably some schmuckle there where Google's earning a fortune regardless, and we don't know about it, and Facebook's earning a fortune regardless. But it'd be interesting if someone could explain what the real issue is, because I can't make head or tail of it. Maybe we'll look into it more, and see if there's any lessons for small businesses there. Now, just before I move on, I just want you all to know that my beautiful girlfriend Melanie, it's her birthday on Saturday, so I just sort of shout out and say, everybody, hey, it's Melanie's birthday. She turns 38. And she's not a big fan of chocolates, but you know, flowers and other gifts, please feel free to send them direct. Happy birthday, doll. Okay. You know, just on grants. You know, the government have a £2,000 grant for people who are importing or exporting to help them cope with the additional work they need for Brexit. So do go online and look at the grants for Brexit, and you might just be able to claim it. Like I say, it is for people who are importing or exporting and are having additional paperwork from the new Brexit arrangements. So if you do have any problems with what to do with import and export, do let me know. We can give you a bit of a hand. Bit more news about internally for Accounts Direct. So, you know, all you big firms of accountants out there, and you know, that charge fortunes in audit fees, just be aware that Accounts Direct are moving towards the audit licenses, and so we'll be out there. We're coming with audit services, so you know, better watch it. Now, I got interviewed myself this week. People don't normally want to talk to me, but I got interviewed, and it's with a friend of mine called Anthony Hirsch and his friend Paul, who have set up a really good. It's called I Am Empowered Man, and they're looking for counselling and like support groups, and it's really quite good for people, for men. I don't know why not for women. I think they blame women for all men's problems. I'm not going to comment. I'll just smile. But no, seriously, there's a lot of men out there that are looking for, you know, just someone to talk to, and in this group, men are giving each other support. It's not just for business people, but I've said they could use our studio if they're in Manchester, because they're basing this in London. But people from all over the world are joining these groups, and you know, it's quite a nice atmosphere when you're in the group. So my interview will be on that shortly, unless they've cut a lot of things out, because I'm not as sympathetic as I should be. So I hope that's been of interest to you. Now, just going over to what we do want to talk about, I just want people to look at where I'm coming from with this. To me, our business is a lifestyle. I mean, a lot of people think, you know, people go into business to make money, and you know, we really do pretty much everything to make money. But going into setting up a small business is not just about making money. You've got to make money to make the business work, but you should consider that you're going to a business because it's a sort of lifestyle that you want, and it's doing the things that you actually want to do. And when you begin to do that and you get pride in the product you're selling, then that creates an additional value. Now, I've mentioned this before, but this week I interviewed this gentleman called Richard from Doncaster. He has a shoe shop, and what I particularly liked about him, he came on my Between the Spreadsheets interview, and he was talking. He makes shoes, and he sells shoes. So what actually happens is that you go to his shop, you sit down in a chair, they measure you, they make shoes, they give you even a questionnaire about what you use shoes for. I know not just for walking, but whether you walk a lot, whether you're in a factory, whether you're in an office, whether you go walking. And, you know, I thought, that's how it should be, because he's interested in the shoes. It doesn't matter what the shoes cost, because he's giving this service. And I think that's what we should all be doing, because we you know, any business that we run should give you the lifestyle that you want within reason. But if you know, so your customers will tell people to come to you. But if you want to grow the business beyond what the normal servicing your customers will do, remember that the business will change. So if you want to manufacture shoes and you want to deal with people and sell them the shoes, or rather go through the process of making it easy to buy from you and giving them what they want, then that will stop. Because then to expand, you've got to take on more staff, and you've got to maybe have larger premises, but you've certainly got to extend your reach. And that turns you from being a shoemaker into being a manager, and that becomes a different type of job. It happened to me. I wanted to be a bookkeeper, I wanted to be an accountant, I liked doing that type of work, and as we grew, I did less and less, and that became more about marketing, more about management, more about board meetings, more about everything else. And that's fine if that's what you want, and I think maybe as I'm getting older, that's what I prefer to do. I prefer strategy to actually day-to-day managing accounts. But at the time before I started expanding, I did actually quite enjoy that, and I was forced to expand because we got more and more clients, so I had to go down that route. But just bear that in mind. If you want a forced expansion or a planned expansion, your role will change. So if like I say, if you want to get more customers, social media, word of mouth, good job with your customers so you get referred. And, you know, if you tell 5 people a day what you do, you shouldn't have to look for any more customers than you need. If you do want to grow the business in a more calculated way, then the best person to talk to is your accountant, whether it's franchising or floating or just generally taking on a bigger campaigns and stuff like that. But if you want the cash flows doing and you want the spreadsheets doing, then do speak to your accountant. I'm always ready. If you want to expand your business, then just tell me what you're looking for, and then we'll talk about what needs to be done sort of after that. So let me just look at a couple of things here. Sometimes I'm just going to move again. So I'm just going to say that we should concentrate on things that give us jumps, because there's a lot of talk out there of people that will tell you to cut costs, and I don't think cutting costs is the answer to making more money. I think cutting out unnecessary costs is fine, but I think going out your way and being obsessed with spending less money, like, you know, if you go to Costa every morning, don't know why, because I really don't like their coffee, but if you go there and you're spending £3-4 on a cup of coffee, then, you know, maybe some people say, well, make it at home, or go get a coffee in McDonald's for £1 or something like that. But if you enjoy your Costa, then isn't that life about having nicer coffee, nicer cars, nicer holidays, nicer everything? Isn't that what makes life worth living? So it's maybe look at how we can increase our profits so we can have the nice cars and we can have the nice holidays and the nice houses. You know, I think these things are important. I don't think just working all the hours God sends just to keep the business alive or to grow for growth's sake. But if you want a different type of lifestyle, then maybe grow. If you want to make a bit more profit, then maybe look at the value within what you do and look at why clients and customers buy a you. I don't particularly enjoy walking into a shop or a business and just having to wait in line. I will pay a bit extra to have a little bit better service, and that's an interesting point. Incidentally, looking at when I was talking to this gentleman from AdLab during the week, he creates online businesses, so things like shops online, e-commerce sites that do pretty much everything. And the thing that people don't always grasp is that when you create an online shop, it can be quite expensive. It can cost 5, 10, 15, 30,000 pounds, and it's like, whoa, you know. But look at it this way: what does it cost to open up the type of business you're in? So we're on the subject of shoes. What would it cost to open up a shoe shop? Well, you've got the first lease, the first 3 quarters up front. You've got fitting out the place, and you've got stocking the place. Now, if you have an online shop, you've got everything online that you would have normally, except you don't have to put as much money into stock, because you can order the stock as and when you're selling it, so you can be cash up front and then order the bulk of the stock. You can stock things that you wouldn't normally stock, because perhaps you don't have the money to keep that level of stock. I mean, shoes, you've got to keep stock of not just each shoe style, but each size, and each size in each colour. So by the time you're looking around, you've got a lot of money in stock. So I'm sure £30,000 will disappear very, very quickly. Not only this, but with an online shop, you're instantly, as long as you get your marketing right, you get your SEO and your social media right, but you've got access to not just people in the immediate area or ones that will travel a little bit, but you've got access to the world markets. And that's pretty good. And it's not only that, but you can open up different styles of shops. So you might be in shoes, so you can have a shoe shop, you can have a handbag shop, you can have a lingerie shop, you can have pretty much any type of shop. You can have 100 shops all being serviced by the same basic backbone, if you like. So do look at e-commerce as an investment, and doing it cheap isn't always the best way to do it, but it's better to do it cheap than not do it at all. So I think that I know a lot of people at the moment are making very, very good money out of online stores, and they have been for a while, but in particular they're doing very, very well, and surprisingly how much they're changing. Even people that have been in business 50 years plus are now suddenly switching to online, and they are seeing a difference, especially those that have got their own brands. If you've got your own brand, I think that differentiates you from somebody else, and it's something you can work on. So you don't need to sell everything, but maybe sell your own brands. Years ago, I used to have a cash and carry. And I always quite enjoyed that in many ways. I mean, it wasn't as satisfying as the accountancy business or bookkeeping, because I feel that what I do now has got more use, but it's not as much fun. And when I look back to the cash and carry days, I think, I remember a time we bought a job lot of black bin liners, and we sold them. And one day I'm in the cash and carry, and this policeman walks down the stairs and into the showroom, and he's got some of these black bin bags, and he can speak to the manager and blah blah blah, and it turns out that he'd picked up these bags while he was on a market, and the storeholder was selling them, and he brought them to me because he thought they were stolen. And because it had Farley County Council written all over the bin bag, but I hadn't stolen them. They hadn't been stolen. I bought them off the council because the spelling on them was wrong, or there was something not quite right about them. So I bought a clearance line of them, and this was like 40 years ago, and I'm still tittering about it sometimes. And then of course we've got a dreadful story, just a dreadful story. We had I went to an auction, and I bought these books, and they ended up, I think they cost me about a penny. It was just nothing. I thought, I've got to make a profit on that, and I think I put them up at something like £1.50 a dozen. And it was a little book, and it had a picture of it was like Billy Bunter. Do you remember Billy Bunter, the schoolboys? And it was called School Tales, with a headmaster with a cane whacking a kid. And they didn't sell. I couldn't sell them, and at one point I was even selling them out for 12 pence or 15 pence a dozen, and nobody just didn't want them. So I put them into these activity packs. An activity pack was a little pack that was you used to have a colouring book or some crayons and maybe a little toy. And I thought, well, I'll make up some activity packs, and I'll put these books in. Incidentally, this is part of the thing I'm talking about by maximising profits, because we used to buy these activity packs from a firm, and at the time we used to pay 28 pence for them and sell them at 33 pence. But by making my own, they worked out that they cost me about 8 pence or 12 pence or something like that, and I was still selling for 33 pence. So I managed to get the extra bunts out of them. The problem is that I had somebody from the local council somewhere come to me and say, "Are these yours?" Well, you know, and I'm saying, "Yeah." "Have you got any left?" "No, sold them out." "How many did you sell?" "Oh, there's about 10,000. And I said, "Why?" So it turned out that these books, these school tales, was actual homosexual porn. And I thought, oh God, all these mothers reading the kids bedtime stories, but the real issue was, if I'd have known what they were, I'd have got far more money for them. You know, and so it's knowing what you're selling, and it's stuff like that all the time. I mean, sometimes another way we used to get our profits up a little bit is we used to sell little. We sell ornaments. Some of our best sellers were religious ornaments, so like a statue of Jesus or Mary, and they were really good sellers. So what I did was we had a spare room at the back of the warehouse, and I started making these plaster cast ornaments, and where I was selling the ornaments generally, they were all made out of plaster. When I was selling them at the time for about, I think it was 56 pence to make it a 99 pence retail line, and I was selling them for 56 pence, but they were costing me about 10 pence to make. So you know, I had a whole range that I'd bought from other companies, and I used to put the ones I was making in, so people have a dozen of that, a dozen of that. So whereas the others I might be making 12%, these were costing me 10, 12 pence, and I was still selling them 50 odd pence. And this is how sometimes you bunce up a little bit, because there's you get a few little bits in that are quite profitable, and mix them in with the bigger sellers, so people will always try them a bit. I'm sure you know exactly what I mean. You know, sort of like mix in what you make or what you get special deals on. I mean, I used to get bits from Germany. I mean, one of the stupid mistakes I made once was that there used to be a product, and it was like horses. What do you call them? Pot horses, very glossed, with barrels with them. And they were quite popular, and it was like one of those things in the 1950s and 60s that people used to like, went out of fashion, and then in the 80s, in the late 70s, 80s, they came back, and I got an exclusivity from a manufacturer in Germany, and I didn't know the value of them, and he was selling them to us for about £2, and I was putting 20% profit on, when in fact no one had them but the big stores, and were retailing for 50, 60, 70 pounds the same stuff. So sometimes, you know, I can't stress enough, look at your products and find the value in it. Sometimes it's better to sell less but a higher product, but it's not just about putting your prices up, it's about having some exclusivity on stuff. And that's something that I've always found. I learned that from my dad, as usual, because he manufactures a few little bitty things. I don't know how they sell, but they do sell. And he also imports, and he also buys from other traders and importers, and he mixes them all in. So he's got the stuff that he buys from importers, he's on a smaller rate, 15%. Then he's got the stuff that he imports himself, that he might be on 30%, and then he's got the stuff that he makes that he might be on 60%. So it's like the garages, you know, petrol stations. They don't make any money on the petrol, or very little money on the petrol, but it brings people to them, so they sell the stuff in the stores. It's great if you've got your own brand on something. I mean, one of the things that people are doing at the moment, more people are actually setting up from their own kitchens, making foods and takeaways. So, you know, the great cooks, and they're cooking their own products, and, you know, Uber Eats and these type of people are delivering them for them, because they've set up their own little brand, working from the kitchen. You know, you've got to be aware of these things, that if you're already selling your own food stuff, that you might be a great cook, but now you're becoming a caterer, and the health inspectors will be down to make sure that everything's right. And in fact, I was looking at an article in one of the accountancy journals that's saying that the health inspectors are struggling because so many people are actually setting it from home doing this. But it doesn't just need to be food, it can be an add-on to your existing business. If you've already got a shop or an online shop, then you've got an outsource to sell them, and you've got the other stuff. But, you know, there's lots of things we can be doing. I think this is where the future goes. I think it's where the past is. I think it's where the future goes. So we're beginning. I babbled on a bit too much because, you know, I got all flustered before the show started. But I'll turn over to questions now. So here we go. John from Rochdale, I'm not sure if I should use a registered officer, I think you mean office, or my trading address. Any ideas? Well, if you're a limited company, you've got to have a central point where the government can contact you and can centralise where your post goes. So your trading address is where you're trading from, is where customers come, but a registered office is somewhere where the, you know, this is where the files are kept. This is where all the important stuff's kept. And if you've got a central, if you're a limited company, you have to have a registered office. It doesn't need to be at the trader's address. So you can have it anywhere. I mean, a lot of clients use us as their registered address, which is great for them because the post comes to us, we can sort it, and if it is anything of any importance that needs attended to, at least we can make sure it's dealt with. The downside for us is that some people don't pay the bills, and the bailiffs come to the registered office. So we've had so many bailiffs come down because clients have not been paying bills, that now what we've done, we've actually hired an office which can be used as a registered address, so at least it buffers us from all the hassle of discussions with bailiffs that we are not them. So, you know, but yeah, you don't need to use a registered office unless you're a limited company. It can be a trading address, and it's useful, even if you're not a limited company, to have a central point of post in case, you know, especially if you've got 2, 3 or more shops. Richard from Surrey, I've recently sold on some property. When do I have to alert HMRC to my capital gains? Okay, well, yeah, if you're in business, then it's highly likely that you'll get a tax return. So any details of any gains, like any other profits or income sources, will have to be alerted on the tax return. It doesn't mean say you'll pay tax on it, because there might be you do get an allowance each year of you can earn before you actually start paying tax. But if you don't receive a tax return, then try and get notification to HMRC that you've made this income before December in the year in which you get the you make the gain. Incidentally, if you are thinking that you've sold your house, just bear in mind that on your personal dwelling, you don't have to pay any tax or declare it. You know, if you've got 2 houses, then maybe it's best to discuss it. Jenny from Appleton, I employ a growing team and have been assigning new wages for staff. How do I best set wage levels to keep everyone happy? Well, from my experience, the more you pay people, the better. So I set the wages at least £500,000 each, so you keep them happy. Now, there's minimum wage rates, so that's where we start from. There's pressure to keep that pushing up, but there's minimum wage rates. It depends on age, and it depends on it just depends on age, really. But bear in mind that wages, like buying anything else, is based on market demand. So if what they do for you is a very common service, it's very easy to buy that, then naturally the wage rate, like the price of anything, will drop. If it's a more specialised thing, or your members of staff are worth a lot more to you, then obviously the price goes up. So it's entirely about what the market carries and how much you value what people do for you. It's often been a point I've had with people, because sometimes you like people and they've been with you for a while and you want to pay them more, but the problem is that the level at which people operate has to be the level at which you pay them. I mean, you can take into account loyalty, you take into account reliability, and you factor those things in. But from a legal point of view, as long as you pay minimum wage, then you don't need to do any more. Bear in mind, on top of that, you've got the administration of payroll, and RTI and auto enrolment, and the cost of extra things like employers' national insurance and holiday pay and sick pay and all the things that go with employing people. So take that into account when you are deciding what wages you should pay. So finally, we have Darren G from Manchester. Should I hire family members to work for me? What are the pros and cons? Well, what do you think? I mean, I've had family members, I've had friends, I've seen businesses with family members and friends, and it's great when it works. But employing family and friends doesn't mean always that you're getting better or worse than not bringing nepotism into it. One of the things is that I think you have higher expectations from family and friends, and I think they have higher expectations from you. And sometimes you don't want to give those higher expectations, and sometimes family and friends don't want that. But the biggest problem for me is if things don't go right, they're in your community, they're in your family, and it's when it goes wrong that it has ongoing effects. If you have a dispute with a normal member of staff and your part company and whatever, however you part company, whether it's a handshake or whether it's a court case, you're not likely to see them again. But when it's family and friends, you end up falling out, or there's always that grudge there, and it brings other people in. So it depends on the business, and it depends on how these people are going to work. I've had family, I've had friends. I mean, I've got a couple of friends that they've become friends, but I've known the family for years. And I've worked with them for coming up to 20 years, and it mostly works. I've had other people, friends of family, that have come in and they've been here a week, and it's the drama and the aggravation. So I tend to prefer not to employ family and friends. But the trouble is, people become friends, don't they? So that's what I've got to say on that. I'm sorry for answering a question like a typical accountant, where I've spoken a lot but not really told you a great deal. But I hope whatever I've said has been useful to you. So I'm coming to the end of this show now. But before I sign off, I just want to say that one of the biggest problems I see with people is lack of communication skills. And I really think, and I really wish people would really get on board with better communication. Not communication to the friends, not communication directly to people that they know, but how to talk in general. And we've got a little facility here, and we call it Project Charisma, and we have taster days of people coming along where you join a WhatsApp group with some other people, and we give you some tips on, I know it's so embarrassing, isn't it, but we give you some tips on how to communicate. So, either join the group to learn, or join the group to give some tips, give some advice. So if you want to join the Project Charisma group, just let me know, and I think the next one's on Eventbrite anyway, so look it up on Eventbrite or contact me direct. So I'm beginning to lose my voice now, but thank you very much for joining me, and I'm not going to go home now and have a cream pie, maybe a cheesecake, but thank you very much, and I'll see you next week.